And now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akugha as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello out there and welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akugha. In today's package, we will take a look, as usual, at some of the burning issues affecting the Niger Delta region. Following the recent threat by the Supreme Egbesu Liberation Fighters to resume hostilities in the Niger Delta region as a result of perceived neglect of the region, we will, beginning from this week, take a look at the 16-point agenda presented to President Muhammadu Buhari by the Pan-Niger Delta Forum PANDEV in November 2016. Our first report on the program today, as well as the first report from the 16-point agenda, is centered on the relocation of the operational and administrative headquarters of international oil companies from Lagos and Abuja to the Niger Delta. In our second report, we'll bring you the position of the Bayelsa State government on what should be the ideal percentage of equity shareholding proposed for host communities in the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB. We will, in the course of the program, take a look at reactions trailing the recent concessioning of the ASABA International Airport to a private investor by the government of Delta State. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, determined to make a difference.
Welcome back. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. In the last few weeks, there have been renewed agitations over the refusal of oil companies to relocate their administrative and operational headquarters to the Niger Delta, which was part of a 16-point demand presented to President Muhammadu Buhari in November 2016 as a precondition for lasting peace and development in Nigeria's oil-producing communities. Correspondent Tekena Mefore reports that the renewed call for the relocation of oil firms to the Niger Delta follows a recent threat by the Supreme Egbesu Liberation Fighters to resume hostilities in the region should the federal government fail to immediately act on the demands made by Niger Delta leaders to enthrone lasting peace and development in the region.
On Tuesday, November 1, 2016, eminent personalities and notable groups in the Niger Delta, under the aegis of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum PANDEV, had a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari with an agenda to stem the tide of renewed hostilities in their region. It was in search of lasting peace and development in the Niger Delta that the region's leaders presented a 16-point demand to Mr. President, a request that was obliged as part of efforts to pour oil on the troubled waters of the Niger Delta. One of such demands was the relocation of administrative and operational headquarters of oil firms from Lagos and Abuja to the Niger Delta. In the first quarter of 2017, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, then acting president and chairman of a reconciliation committee on Niger Delta, undertook a tour of the region and held town hall meetings with restive communities where he repeatedly sued for peace and assured them of the federal government's commitment to improve their lots. During one of such meetings in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, Professor Osinbajo had directed oil companies to relocate to the Niger Delta and contribute to its development. The presidential directive, greeted with high hopes for accelerated socio-economic development in the Niger Delta, was not carried out. With the exit of oil majors from the region on account of insecurity beginning from 1968, the development trajectory has been on a steady decline in the Niger Delta. Widespread poverty in oil-producing communities is fueled by soaring unemployment rates in the region. In the last 5 years, the National Bureau of Statistics has consistently ranked Nigeria's largest oil-producing states of Delta, Akwa Ibom, Rivers and Bayelsa among states with highest unemployment rates in the country. Instructively, this was one of the many reasons advanced by the Supreme Egbesu Liberation Fighters, a militant group operating in the Niger Delta, in its recent threat to resume hostilities.
Over the years, the Niger Delta people have made frantic efforts to create an enabling environment that can promote business activities and subsequently bring the desired development that the people has been yearning for and promote the living standard of the people. But to our greatest dismay, the Nigerian government over the years have decided to handle the issues of the Niger Delta region with kid gloves. Even to the oil companies operating in our region that have decided to undermine our people, be rest assured that your days will soon catch up with you.
While most Niger Deltans do not subscribe to a violent approach in their struggle for an existence in Nigeria's oil belt, they are in agreement with the Supreme Egbesu Liberation Fighters that their region has suffered untold structural injustice for too long. They argue that the security challenge in the Niger Delta advanced by the oil companies to justify their deployment to Lagos and Abuja is a mere hoax concocted to perpetuate poverty and underdevelopment in the region.
The Niger Delta is more secure, but it is a calculated attempt to continue to brand us in a light of being violence, so that they will continue to cut away our resources. River State is not violent when Ajip, Total, and what have you wants to bring their staff to DIRI oil. But River State is very violent and unsafe when it has to do with the proceeds of the oil they get from us. I'm using oil as a yardstick, not just oil, you know. We have companies in River State doing well, like the Indorama, all of them. They have not complained before.
If you want to look at the gamut of the challenges of the region, it has to do so much with poverty. And the only way you can think of tackling poverty is to create plenty of employment for the people. And one way to create those opportunities is to have OICs relocate the operational bases to the region.
The only thing left in the Niger Delta is politics, and that is the prescription for endemic poverty. It's not good for the region. The region will lose competitiveness, it will lose political capacity, it will lose even the fundamental right of aspiring for political positions at a national level, because you don't have the population base to support such aspirations. And who has done that to us? 20 years of bad political leadership in the Niger Delta. This is the time to change.
Former spokesman of Shell Petroleum Development Company SPDC and one-time national president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Bobo Brown, says the Niger Delta is not the only casualty of the ill-conceived deployment of administrative and operational headquarters of oil firms to Lagos and Abuja.
Keeping the corporate offices of the oil and gas business outside the Niger Delta has increased the cost of operation on a barrel of oil by more than 100%. For NNPC to be in Abuja, the oil fields in Boni, in Brass, in Egbana, in Wari are paying for the NNPC office in Abuja and the staff there. So all of these are factored into the cost of a barrel of oil in Nigeria. The point what one is making now is that the intensive redeployment of management resources outside the Niger Delta to run the oil and gas industry has increased the cost of operation to now an unbearable level because of the drop in the price of oil in the international market. Therefore, you don't need a militant group to tell the federal government that you're burning your finger.
Since oil exploration and production commenced in the Niger Delta over 60 years ago, the region, which ordinarily accounts for one of the richest ecosystems on the African continent with a wide range of biodiversity, has gradually transformed into a wasteland on account of severe environmental degradation occasioned by oil drilling. The clamor for the relocation of oil companies in addition to 15 other demands presented to the federal government in November 2016, is with a view to ameliorating the plight of long-suffering oil-producing communities in the region. Given the government's tardy response to their legitimate demands, not a few Niger Deltans are getting increasingly worried about the future of their region. In their submission, they maintain that justice delayed is justice denied.
Inside the Niger Delta. Introducing from the heart of Nigeria's Niger Delta region, a residential estate like no other, Victoria Creek Gardens Estate, VCG2 Airport Road, Port Harcourt, River State. A blend of aesthetics, functionality and simplicity, built into 600 units of safe and comfortable accommodation. Located in an urban serene environment, VCG2 Estate is just 5 minutes away from the Port Harcourt International Airport. It features an already built police station, a shopping mall, hospital, hotel, cinema, club, gym, playground and many other facilities for your comfort. Purchase a home at our irresistible offer today for you and your family, or just simply invest in our real estate for a fantastic return on investments. For more information, call us on 070-410-01558 or visit our office at Plot 14 Woji Road, GRA Phase 2, Port Harcourt. Victoria Creek Gardens Estate, oasis in the garden.
In the meantime, the government of Bayelsa State has rejected the 2.5% equity shareholding proposed for host communities in the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB. At a recent town hall meeting on the PIB in Yenagoa, Governor DIRI told members of the National Assembly and other stakeholders that nothing short of 10% of equity shareholding revenues should accrue to the coffers of petroleum host communities who have had to bear the brunt of severe environmental degradation attendant on oil and gas production in the Niger Delta for several decades. Correspondent Lovely Ofigo has the report.
Speaking on behalf of the government and people of Bayelsa State at a town hall meeting in Yenagoa, Governor DIRI told members of the other committee on the PIB in the House of Representatives that the 2.5% proposed in the anticipated Petroleum Industry Act as equity shareholding for host communities was grossly inadequate. The governor said after wide consultations with oil-producing communities in Bayelsa State, there was a unanimous agreement on 10% equity shareholding for host communities in the PIB.
The 2.5% that have been proposed for the oil-producing states is grossly inadequate and unacceptable to us. We have proposed a 10% to the host communities.
Governor DIRI, however, expressed joy over renewed commitment of the federal lawmakers to the passage of the PIB, which had suffered untold delays since it was first introduced in the National Assembly some 20 years ago.
This is one bill that will bring in local content to focus in the oil and gas business. If we get it right, this bill will accelerate skills acquisition and skills development by Nigerians and people of the oil-producing communities.
In the spirit of that joint task of national building, all the opinions expressed here will count in the final bill that will go to Mr. President for assent.
It would be recalled that disagreements over an ideal percentage of equity shareholding for petroleum host communities had resulted in a fight between rival members of host communities of Nigeria producing oil and gas HostCom during a public hearing on the PIB organized in January this year by the House of Representatives. With a recent demand of 10% equity shareholding for host communities by the Bayelsa State government, which has been affirmed by its River State counterpart, it appears oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta are beginning to speak with one voice on what should be their stake in the PIB.
Inside the Niger Delta. Heritage Bank. Service, performance, respect, integrity, innovation, tenacity, excellence. Heritage Bank, your timeless wealth partner. Azikel Group, oil and gas, dredging, power and air transportation. Azikel Group, petroleum product sufficiency, energy sustainability, and infrastructure development.
More reactions have continued to trail the concession of the ASABA International Airport to a private investor for a period of 30 years by the Delta State government. Responding to Governor Ifeanyi Okowa's claim that the concession of the airport was in the best economic interest of Deltans, some close observers of the governance process in Delta State insist that the 30-year concession period will not serve the interests of the people. Correspondent Chika Abodozie has the details.
The ASABA International Airport project was initiated in 2008 by former Delta State Governor Emmanuel Uduaghan as a passenger and cargo airport to harness the economic potentials of Delta State's proximity to the eastern industrial centers of Onitsha and Nnewi. The project gulped about 40 billion naira without a cargo session provided in its original design. Owing to the poor facilities provided in the airport, it was downgraded to a Category 3 airport by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority soon after it became operational. Upon his election in 2015, Governor Akugha said he committed huge funds to upgrade facilities in the airport and made efforts to run it effectively. After many years of operating the airport, Governor Akugha said the Delta State government was running at a loss and could no longer afford to spend scarce resources to manage the airport. According to the Delta State governor, the best option was to adopt a public-private partnership in the management of the airport. This informed the recent concession of the ASABA International Airport to FIDC Menzies Consortium as major shareholder with other technical partners for a period of 30 years.
We are beginning as government without the knowledge on how to run an airport properly. We are beginning to spend more than we are able to get from the airport. That it was best to hand it over to a consortium who is able to run the airport, one, more efficiently, and even two, more profitably, but more importantly, that are able to bring in the facilities to further enable us achieve the original dream.
In line with the concessioning agreement, the concessionaire is expected to pay a signature bonus of 1 billion naira and an annual fees of 100 million naira to the Delta State government, which is estimated at about 5 billion naira within the 30-year period of the concession. Additionally, the concessionaire is expected to pay a royalty of 2.5% of its annual turnover and provide essential investments to the tune of 28 billion naira to effectively maintain and manage the ASABA International Airport for the Delta State government.
It is done in the best interest of the people, and I'm sure that in the next 3 to 5 years, by the special grace of God, we will begin to reap the gains. We will be happy that that decision is taken.
The FIDC Menzies Consortium is ready and committed to developing our skills, to deploying our skills and expertise towards the transformation of the ASABA International Airport. The airside and landside activities in this airport will be resuscitated with attendant benefits to various sectors of the economy of Delta State, including but not limited to job creation, revenue generation to the state government, and attracting foreign direct investment into Delta State.
After taking a critical consideration of the circumstances surrounding the concessioning of the ASABA International Airport, some interested parties have faulted the entire process for lack of transparency.
The whole process was shrouded in secrecy, was not transparent. And the moment you do not have transparency in place, things are definitely going to go wrong. I can challenge you to check the people that that we are concession to. There may be people around those who are in power, and there may be the people in power, getting it done by other means. First of all, the government may have done what it did so deliberately. And we also recognize the fact that there is little the opposition can do if at all you have what you can even call position. There are little civic engagement can do. There are hardly any room for that. Everybody appears to be minding his own business. And then in the end, we suffer collectively.
If you look at this transaction, it does not in any way have one dot of input from DELTANS. The whole thing is fraught with shenanigans. What you have is a government of politicians by politicians for politicians. These people don't give a hoot about the masses. This is not democracy. This is politocracy. Government of politicians for politicians.
Those opposed to the recent concessioning of the airport insist that Governor Okowa's claim that the transaction was made for the good of Delta State should be taken with a pinch of salt, as the only sure thing in the concession agreement is the 5 billion naira the state would earn over a 30-year period. They argued that the other projected receipts of 2.5% annual royalty payments from earnings by the concessionaire and the 28 billion naira investments were at best just projections. In their reaction to the governor's assurance that the deal did not amount to outright sale of the airport, they maintain that the 30 years provided in the agreement was too long a time for the concessionaire to manage the facility in the best interest of Delta State.
It's just like transferring a monopoly to another monopoly. Because the transaction was not competitive, it was not properly done, it did not follow due process. So the people who are going to manage this airport are going to do it with an arbitrary mindset. 30 years is too long for this kind of transaction. No, it's too long. It's like you've sold the airport. That is the story of Delta State since 1999. Everything about the state has been shoddy. The state is supposedly a rich state, but the capital is just a glorified village. Then Warri is a dying city. This transaction doesn't look transparent at all.
For his part, human rights lawyer Frank Tietie deplores the recent concessioning of the ASABA International Airport, which he says must be subjected to an anti-corruption test as it appears to confer undue advantage on the concessionaire.
We have to subject it to an anti-corruption test. We have to subject it to a test of interest, ultimate interest for the people. In that case, there must be a sort of review of whatever concessioning agreement they have entered. And we expect in the immediate that as the review begins, they will put a halt to implementing whatever form of agreement that they have entered. This whole thing appears to be more in the interest of the private concessionaire against the interest of the people of the Delta State. And as such, it must be halted immediately.
The apprehension greeting the recent concessioning of the ASABA International Airport is informed by the sale in 2017 of the Delta Transport Company to a private investor, God is Good Motors, which is yet to make substantial returns to the Delta State government to the knowledge of Deltans. Critics of the Okowa administration wonder why it is bent on selling of public assets to private investors, whereas neighboring states like Rivers and Akwa Ibom are currently managing known public enterprises in a profitable and efficient manner. For instance, the government of Akwa Ibom State has effectively managed its airline, Ibom Air, which commenced flight operations on June 7, 2019. The question is, why is the Delta State experience with managing public assets different? Perhaps this is a question the administration of Governor Ifeanyi Okowa will have to answer in fulfillment of its obligations to the people of Delta State. Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, that's the size of our package on the program for today. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region, will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. Until next week, I am Mamode Akugha, thanking you for staying with us. Bye for now.